of work, social connection is not usually a concept that comes up for us, but it is something that I dare say we all would like, or we all would respond positively to. So before we go into that, let me just quickly introduce myself. I'm a registered psychologist here in Singapore, and I practice at Psych Connect, which is a practice for youth, adults, and corporates as well. The services I provided, as Zhui kindly mentioned, come under 3 broad domains. So it's with this understanding of how people struggle with different things at work. My colleagues don't understand how my pain is affecting my performance. I'm not sure how to communicate with my employees. I have been promoted all this time because I have great technical skills. I am all the way up to the C-suite because I am the CTO with excellent technical knowledge, but I have very little experience with a purely managerial role. Or in the psychiatric area, I'm feeling depressed, I'm feeling very anxious at work, I'm not sure how to deal with it. You might think that this is a separate group, but most people with these conditions are also people who have jobs, people who want to keep jobs as well. So it is with this understanding of how things operate at a normal level and how things operate when we are under duress that I come to you with a mixture of a discussion of science and clinical experience as well. So today, we'll be talking about understanding emotions at work and in teamwork. We'll talk about interactions that would foster such emotional well-being and simple tips for doing so at an interpersonal level. But this is not personnel selection criteria, okay? Don't use this as personnel selection criteria. There's more to it than that. This is not a cure-all template as well. This is not a situation where you will go back after this 20-minute talk to your company, and then suddenly you have, I have the solution to all our cultural problems, right? And it's not about organizational development. So I'm not telling you how to change your company. I'm talking about how we can communicate better at work, at the individual level. So we're looking at this basically. I'm not telling you what to put on the task board behind. I'm not telling you what to put on your computers. I'm focusing on the people, how we're interacting with each other. All right then, so what's teamwork? So the team basically is quite intuitively a group of people coming together to complete a task, right? But as we go about this task, it interacts with an interpersonal dimension as well. We all want something emotional from our roles within a team, within a task framework. That is unavoidable. So there are many theories out there, but I'm just going to highlight one for an illustration. It's called self-determination theory, which posits that people have 3 needs. First is autonomy. I need to feel psychologically free. I need to feel like I'm in control of my own behavior. I have ownership of it. And this includes my work. I want to feel competent. I feel like I'm growing. I feel like I'm developing a sense of mastery over my tasks, over my environment, perhaps even over my industry. And the last one, connectedness. I want to feel like people at work actually care about me. And I also hope that I can be a nice, caring person towards others. So we then come to roles in the team. So why are roles important? So when roles are ambiguous, we don't know what to expect from each other. Is John in charge of this? Or is Jerry in charge of that? Who do we go to? If we go to one, will it offend the other person? Things like that start to become a bit unclear. Or we may have a situation where someone tells us, Ben, weren't you on that panel for troubleshooting our business continuity plans for COVID? And I'm like, what panel? No one told me. Right? The next one, role conflict. We have competing ideas. So one crude example is, okay, John, Jerry, I'd like the 2 of you to explore 2 different areas for us to move forward as a fintech company, how we can differentiate ourselves from the market. And then we will go with the idea that sounds better. Suddenly, John and Jerry are now in an oppositional role. The roles are conflicting. One person is going to look bad because one person's solution is going to be tossed out the window. And also role incongruence. Basically, the level of participation is not the same as the value that we place in that role. So for example, I really like this role. I really like being this team, but everything's very so settled. I feel like I have no room to show any initiative. Or the opposite can be true as well. I don't like this team. I don't like being this role, but I have to do so much for it. I wish I was in another function where I would feel like I'm a better fit. So these are some examples of how the roles can start to acquire that emotional dimension and that interpersonal dimension as well. So if this is happening for you, don't sit down and hope that, things have changed. Maybe you'll notice this in 1 or 2 weeks' time. Maybe you'll notice this next month. Usually it doesn't happen this way. It happens when you have a talk with your team or leader about this. They may be so preoccupied with what they have that they may not even know about this. So have a chat. Now, what happens when our roles and needs are congruent, when our needs are met as we go about filling our roles? It may feel like this. I know what's needed of me. I feel entrusted with the freedom to go about it. I can do this. It's within my abilities. And if I need help, I know where to find the resources that I need to move forward. And okay, you know what? We all celebrate together. We all lament together. There are good times, there are bad times. We secure this major project, we lose that major client. But no matter what, we've got each other's backs. Ideally, this is the case. There is a felt sense here: safety, belonging, room to grow, capacity to overcome. So the next question then is, beyond yourself, we all want this for ourselves as well, but we are also part of the team. We are also part of the environment that can create this for another person. And so the question is not just whether we are feeling this way, but whether we are actively fostering such a climate for other people as well. And that's where we go into our next section. So remember, there are two dimensions to consider: the task and the interpersonal dimension, right? So let me touch on the task a bit first. And you might think, okay, it's task, it's just a task, right? We write code, we sell products. What have emotions got to do with it? And that's because the collaboration in tasks eventually leads to this sense of, oh, thank goodness. Why? Because the interpersonal significance of collaboration is reciprocity. I do this for you. I know that you're going to help me in future. That's called direct reciprocity. But as we go about this, there is also an indirect reciprocity. I help you now. I develop a reputation of helpfulness. Other people may be more willing to help me in future, or may be more willing to ask me for help. And so through these little transactions, we start to get this sense of, oh, thank goodness this guy is around. So the simplified emotional significance really is, oh my gosh, this person can help me. Thank you very much, right? And that is what we want from our colleague. That's what we want to be for a colleague as well. Now, it brings about a sense of relief, assurance, safety, hope, aspiration. So you can see how from the way we tackle a task, that affects how we feel about it. That affects how we feel about each other, and that affects how we feel about ourselves as well. So examples of, oh my gosh, this person can help me. Covering for a colleague on leave. I'm sure you've done that before. Troubleshooting things together, brainstorming, sharing ideas. Sometimes they don't need you to do something for them. They just need someone to bounce ideas off because they've been seeing this task from this angle for so many months that they are stuck. It's a bit like writer's block and they need someone else to chime in with some new ideas. Or we all know, okay, there are some things in every job that we don't like doing. Admin, PDPA, or what's this new fangled technology that we have to use called Zoom because of COVID. IT issues, okay, email's not working. IT is not responding as fast as I need. Hey bro, do you have an answer? Things like that. So if you imagine this kind of helpful colleague, like the picture on the left here, hold on, gesturing in the right direction. If you imagine a helpful colleague like this helping you out here with the tech, and if you imagine yourself being that helpful person, how do you feel? Warm, fuzzy, relaxed? Because that's what comes about when we work together, and we work together well. That's what changes something that is like, oh my gosh, Jerry's giving me to another task to, oh dear, my esteemed colleague needs help. You know what? I want to help a friend. Let's do this together. Let's find a way forward together. That's the difference. How we do it eventually has this emotional significance, and that changes the flavor of work and of teamwork. Now, okay, so I talked a lot about emotions for the task. Why am I talking about emotions separately for connectedness? And it's quite simple. Because now we are not talking about the task. We are talking about the emotions that we have. So to help you understand this, I'd like you to think about when was the last time you were praised, acknowledged, or recognized explicitly at work. And so by explicitly, I mean someone actually walked up to you, or someone announced publicly, you did a good job, you put in a good effort, you're doing well, you're very helpful, things like that. When was the last time you were explicitly acknowledged for that, whether publicly or privately? And I've got a feeling that a lot of you will say that it's been a long time or never. Especially those who are working in largely Asian offices. So the next question is, when was the last time you did it for someone? And I will also venture to say that it's also quite rare, because most of you here, I'm assuming, are also Asian. It is not in our culture to be that explicit when it comes to acknowledgement. When you're brought up in a culture where A is average and B is bad, doesn't seem like there's much to acknowledge each other for when things are going well, is there? And then similarly, perhaps the closest that you got to I love you was, have you eaten your lunch? Right? I'm not speaking about just Chinese people here. In my limited experience with many other East Asian cultures, this does seem to be quite a common phenomenon, and we bring that into work as well. So this is not praise. I received your report. Okay. Or no comments. Or the most relatable response to a text message or to a email, noted with thanks. Right? That's not praise. That's just acknowledging that you received something. So the absence of criticism is not the same as recognition. I'd like you to think about that for a moment. When was the last time you thought something was good? Someone did something good for you, and that's it, noted with thanks. When was the last time that occurred, compared to the last time you explicitly recognized someone for the good that they did? And so how do we go about changing that? So we focus on the person and not the task. It's simple and easy if you pay attention to explicit gratitude, explicit recognition of effort, even if the outcome was bad. So anyone in business will tell you, yes, outcome is the most important thing. If you don't have any sales, no one gets paid, the company shuts down, everyone goes home, right? But anyone who is in business long enough will also tell you, we cannot control the market. Even the top investors lose money. Sometimes the outcomes will be good, sometimes the outcome will be not so good. But the team might have worked very hard, and it's important to acknowledge that, whether as a leader or as a peer. You know what, guys? This was a tough one. It may not have gone the way we planned, but we fought hard together, And I really want to thank you for that. And the last one is explicit sympathy, explicit support. Okay, I can see you're going through a very hard time. Is there anything that I can help you with so that you feel better? See, it's not help you with, full stop. So it's help you with so that you feel better. The focus is on the person right here. And the most important thing is this needs to be authentic. This needs to be what you actually feel. It can't be fake. If you're very unhappy with someone and you tell them, okay, I think you did a very good job. Yeah, good for you. I'm exaggerating, of course, but it needs to be authentic. Otherwise, people will know that it's fake, right? So let me give you an example. Let's say there is a huge pitch to be made. Let's say you are bidding for a government contract in your company. That it takes a long time. The tender processes take a long time. You need to go for multiple rounds of discussion. You will need to think about what your competitors are providing, what you're providing, value, quality, pricing, and so on. There's a lot of people involved. There's a lot of back and fro. At the end of the day, you may or you may not get it. And so at this time, it is important to recognize that, John, you know what? When I had to take leave to take care of my baby, I'm so glad that you stood in for me despite all that. I really appreciated the effort that you put into it. It's not you didn't just cover for me minimally. You did such a good job that it was very easy for me to come back solidly when I could come back to work. And I can see that you're quite stressed right now. So if there's anything I can do to make you feel better, if anything I can do to help you as well, please let me know. Because you're a wonderful colleague and I would like to do the same for you. Sounds very different, doesn't it? Not, oh, thanks, thanks. Okay, I'm back now. Yeah, thanks. You can take a break now. End of story. It's a very different context. It takes effort. You need to pay attention to what you are thankful for. You need to pay attention to your own feelings. And once you do that, what you want to thank them for comes naturally. So, in summary, there is a task component in our interpersonal collaborations within a team. There is an interpersonal dimension as well. There's not so much concern with the task as it is concern with each other. Roles meet emotional needs, and hence the optimization of roles would help meet those needs better in the team. Reciprocity can develop task-focused connectedness, but it's that explicit emotional talk that can deepen that and create an emotion-focused connectedness. And there is one more caveat I'd like to add before we start to round off. All the things I've mentioned, we usually see them taking place casually in the office, around the office, lunches, corridors, pantries, so on, places where we have a short break together. Oh, and I don't smoke, but my smoky friend tells me, hey bro, let's go smoke break. And that's where some of this sort of discussion occurs as well. When we are working from home, we have this computer, we are on this computer for this amount of time, for this particular meeting, for this particular purpose, let's get to it. When we text each other, it's texting about work. When we call each other, it's calling about work. Those common spaces to have that kind of casual validation, casual discussion are not there. So that's where we need to start creating them on our own before a meeting. Before we start today, could I just say, I'm very impressed with Jerry. He helped me work through a problem recently, and that's fed into how I've thought about our next product and how I'm going to present it today. So before I go on, can we please give Jerry a round of applause? Right? That changes the whole thing together. That changes the whole tone of the meeting. That changes the whole way Jerry feels, and perhaps the way you feel as well, because the gratitude is brought to the forefront of your mind. So where the usual avenues for this kind of thing don't naturally occur, we can still create it. It just needs a bit more effort. And with that, if you're not coping well at work, seek help when self-help is not helping. I do not want to see people reach a point where they feel like they cannot work anymore, they cannot have relationships, they cannot engage in leisure activities. I do see a lot of people with that, and I help them out of it. But every time I see someone like that, the thought that goes through my head is, I wish you came in earlier, because things could have changed a lot sooner for that person. The connectedness tips that I discussed here won't work if you are very depressed, if you're very anxious. In fact, you may be so preoccupied that other people also don't know how to help you, because it's so deep now, so complex. So please, if self-help is not helping, seek help earlier rather than later. Don't wait till it damages your life. Don't wait till it damages your work, okay? You deserve better than that. And with that, these are my references, and thank you very much.